Let's talk now about, given a convolutional neural network, how can you try and visualize what's going on in it? Since our input is visual, we have some possibility of actually displaying our neural network and some of what's going on in there visually. So let's say, for example, that we have a picture of a cat. So what I'm going to show you is the results of a small neural network that was trained from scratch to recognize cats and dogs. And we're going to look at some of the levels of the neural network. So what we're going to do basically is let's look at the first layer of the neural network. So this is a convolution, and this basically represents a activation, right? So the output of the first layer, and the depth of it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, so it's 32. Okay, so this is the first face of it here. And then the second plane of this is here, and then the third here. Okay, so this is a bunch of feature maps. And so what we can see is it looks like we have various kinds of filters that are being applied, various kinds of convolutions that are applying to this picture. Okay, and this is just so I could fit it a lot smaller than here. So we can see various different kinds of filters. Okay, one seems to be responding very well, for instance, to I think one of these or these kind of eyes and things like that. As we then move down, we see, so this would be after, let's say, pooling. Okay, so it becomes reduced by a factor of 2 in each dimension. We go to another level of convolutions, and now they're becoming a little more complex. Okay. And then pooling, and we've got deeper, so now we've got 64 instead of 32. We can see this one here seems to be maybe responding to the ears, so pulling those out. This is pulling out something along the top here, so kind of this, it's responding to this blue up here. And as we go further, what we see is now we have even more convolutions, but what we're getting here is even more sort of abstract and less relatable to the original image. Okay, and this is after the pooling. And so what we have, even at this level, as we look, is very abstract. In these cases, it's just zeros for all of these features. And then some of these others are, for instance, this again looks like it's maybe ears, and it's hard to say what some of these are. It's looking kind of more binary in some sense, so representing some abstractions that we're not really easily able to understand. But just as we can see, looking at the activation output can be useful. And this is once we've done the max pooling on it, so we can see it gets very gross. So displaying the activations can be useful for a convolutional neural network. It's fairly easy to understand them as we go through the first few layers. As we get to later and later layers, then they suddenly become more abstract and it's somewhat more hard to understand them.